baby beard.
All right, I'm a delivery boy.
Who is Hermes planning on killing?
I think we should let the orphans run free.
You've redeemed funds.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't.
He's just an old guy.
Can we talk about evil Lincoln?
Oh, of course.
Oh, this art needs to be sent. That's not the voice at all.
That's lobster tamed.
Let's make it the
Look,
Christmas.
let me ask you this.
He was just about to agree with you.
Shut up and take my podcast.
I was not expecting that.
No, we're 73 episodes in. You've got to get creative.
Scraping the bottom of the barrel.
You gotta spice things up, you know what I mean? Wink.
Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of spice, it's getting hot in here, and so let us introduce the hottest podcast on the airwaves. Shut up and take my podcast. That Futurama podcast, that pits episode against episode.
And now
in
film.
Bloody... Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, the intro!
Oh no, we've already fucked with the format. There's no going back now.
That pits episode against film in bloody glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment. And I am joined here by Ellen.
I don't have to stand here and take abuse from a gross nerd.
That's
By
literally your job.
Well, I'm not standing.
Okay,
I'm
fair enough.
sitting down.
by Phil.
The Dispatchinator.
And we're joined by Sean.
5-time Olympic champion in sex.
But not limbo.
No,
Just
hell no.
sex.
In
Just
case
sex.
people can't tell, we've had a few.
Yeah, I did not get Olympic outright.
You
No,
said
not really.
Olympic.
Olympic.
I am here to challenge you in the Olympic Games.
So much to the chagrin of Chris, we are a couple of drinks in.
Couple of drinks in. Well, it's a movie night, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing
we were
crazy.
not prepared for Futurama to go 4 times its normal length.
That's right.
No one's going to have their stomach pumped tonight, right?
Yet. But
Right, guys?
the
Hope
night's
not.
young. The night's young.
And
I-
it's Tuesday, right? Which is the primo drinking night.
I have to be up for work in 6 hours. So, ladies and gentlemen, the original run is behind us, and the movies are directly in front of us. The first of which
Sounds sexy.
we're doing the films as their entirety. Oh, far out. It's going to be a long podcast. We are doing the film in its entirety, so instead of saying my usual season blank, episode blank, I say film number 1, Bender's Big Score.
That it was.
The director for this episode, Dwayne Carey Hill. Phil, you forget that's how we did it last time. Dwayne Carey Hill.
Wait, shit, was I meant to join in?
No,
Well, you
it's
went
fine.
no, you went there.
Oh,
you went
okay.
there
I
for
mean, you
it.
can if you want.
You can.
Can I?
Yeah.
All
Do you want to do it
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
Dwayne Carey Hill.
Oh, that was nice. The little
It's fun, isn't it?
rule of 3 for you guys at home.
Dwayne Carey Hill was actually responsible for directing the very first episode of Disenchantment.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Okay, and we all had various feelings about Disenchantment, which...
I watched, 2 episodes and I haven't.
No,
had
I
a
have.
desire
I was going to
go
ask, did
Yeah.
any of you guys continue watching after we did our...
I got about, I think, 4 episodes in. I've just been very busy, and as I said, I really liked the art and stuff.
Me too.
But I find it a kind of like show. So it was good to have on kind of in the background, unfortunately. I feel like it started to pick up like a little bit of momentum, but not enough that it's kind of like riveting. So I think it's something that you can like go to episode by episode and be like, oh, this is good to just kind of relax. I don't have to have my brain switched on. I can do some things in the background and it's still pretty much fine.
I just felt like the setup was a bit laborious and the show had a bit of a pacing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I'll talk about to bring it back into this. That's the issue I had with the film was pacing issues. And I'm just like, it just kills it for me when I'm watching things. It's probably one of my big killer from when I'm watching media.
Pace.
If the pace is off, it just really sucks me out of it.
I don't know how they set it up as episodes, honestly. Like
This?
So I
Yeah.
watched. I have the only part of a film of Futurama that I've ever seen is I saw one of the episodes of Bender's Game, and the answer to that question is fucking weirdly.
Yeah.
They try to pick kind of cliffhangers, but it does end abruptly because they weren't meant to be episodes.
Yeah, it's
does-
meant to be a movie.
It feels like there are bits where you go, oh, I wonder if that's where they end an episode.
Yeah.
Like, Doom
Yeah,
and
with
sort of a
Nibbler.
cutaway and it resets.
That's always
like-
a good ending
Yeah.
to an episode. Doom!
So, guys, just as a quick little plug, we do have a presence on YouTube, and so we did do a bit of a review on Disenchantment. The first time you see our faces,
And you can see our I was gonna say that exactly, but you can see our beautiful faces. And I am wearing $400 earrings in my section, so please check it out.
Wait,
So I
what?
can
What?
claim it on my tax.
$400 earrings.
Yeah, well, because I was in Europe at the time, and
Oh, it's just all when in Europe.
I had just come back from France, and there's a store called I'm gonna
Butcher it. Do
brut-
it.
yeah,
Do it. Do it.
Les Nekids.
Sure.
Ow.
It's a beautiful jewelry brand, and they were having a sale.
Jesus.
So
We're
by
on
sale,
sale.
wait, what was it down from? You know what? Never.
Don't tell us. Please, God, don't tell us.
Yeah,
So-
so check that out, please, and so I can claim it on my tax and feel justified that I bought these very expensive earrings.
So you can write it off as a podcast expense. Speaking of writing it off, the
Well-
writer for this episode
That's a good segue.
nailed
right
it.
there.
It's one of my favorite writers of all time, which would be
That's not Kaplan.
oh, fucking Ken Keeler.
Ken
Yeah,
Keeler.
yeah,
Kaplan produced this one, I think.
Ken Keeler did produce it. So
I
Kaplan.
I thought he
produced it.
dropped
Eric
off.
Kaplan.
Eric Kaplan.
Yeah.
Also, as well as David X. Cohen, obviously.
Yeah.
So, okay, there are two writers, technically. First of all, David X. Cohen wrote the story, and because he was a story credit, not a screenplay credit, no fucking extra fact for you. And Ken Keeler, he is officially and technically the very first writer to write episodes back-to-back consecutively.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Because he
Okay.
did The Devil's Hands.
Right, and this comes right after.
I dig that.
Yeah.
He's a hard worker. He's put in the time.
He's only got 2 years to write this episode. Well, I guess this
I don't get
showed
a-
2 years after the end. But
No,
you've
this
got to
is
start
4 years
animating.
after.
Yeah.
4 years after.
Yes,
Okay.
we've
Yeah.
obviously wrote it earlier than that.
I don't
yeah.
get a lot done in 2 years, do you?
I get a lot done in 5 years.
No comments.
And
Don't look us up, people.
oh, yes, and forgetting my own format, Dwayne Carey Hill was back from Obsoletely Fabulous. And Ken Keeler, as I said, Devil's Hands. And David X. Cohen back from The Why of Fry. Those of you that just need every bit of our format.
Freaking nerds.
Just nerds.
Nailed it.
Go away, but then come back. Air date
After
for
2
this
years.
movie is November 27th, 2007. Or for you Australians out there, March the 5th, 2008. We got it 4 months later.
Wow.
Do you know what it was aired on? Like how they did it?
Well, it went
Foxtel?
direct to DVD.
No.
Went
So,
direct to
yeah,
DVD.
just straight. It was a
okay.
DVD release.
Yeah.
Because I guess Foxtel is a burnt bridge at this point. Fox Studios.
So
They
for
rag a
those
bit
of-
on Fox.
For those of you that don't know, Foxtel is our satellite cable service.
Yeah.
That we have, and it's not a thing anymore. It is a thing, but
Let's
That's
not
right.
delve into it.
There's something called the Pirate Bay.
Yes.
introducing Mark Hamill.
What? Where? Where?
Where do you reckon? Where do you reckon Mr. Mark Hamill?
In my dreams.
You're there, but
Hello, Mark Hamill.
Uh,
Please.
Also-
he's got to be one of the villains, right?
oh,
Is he
you
new?
know,
Scammers?
depends how you see this particular person. Whether you think he's a villain or not.
Well, he's
So it's not one of the
he's-
scammers then, who
He's
are the
definitely
villain
not
villains.
Barbados Slim.
No,
No,
he's
no.
he in actual fact was a Hanukkah zombie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's Mark Hamill.
What a use of your Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Hey Mark, we want you to sing as a zombie. Go for it. Dreidel, dreidel.
Was there something up with the mixing of that bit? Because I couldn't
Uh,
hear any of the
So
lyrics.
this is my thing is that the mixing of it, the voices are just under the music,
I
and you
cannot
can't hear a
hear
damn
it.
thing.
It's not
Not
great
hear
because I
anything.
feel like a lot of clever wordplay is happening, but
Yes.
it's so frustrating.
It's a
because
rap!
I cannot hear any of it. Especially Mark Hamill. Holy shit, if I knew that, I would be like hanging off every word because he's been like in my dreams ever since I was 6 years old.
And Coolio's back.
Kwanzaa.
Quanzabot.
Yeah.
Coolio's like you've got Coolio, like
Rapping as well,
Yes.
right? Doing his thing.
Dan Castellaneta, not John Goodman.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah, you
almost,
can tell, you
I
can
almost
tell.
thought it was John DiMaggio. I was like, is John DiMaggio just doing every character in this?
Even
Because-
Fry.
Yeah. Oh God. Wait. Who was he? He's definitely
John DiMaggio is Bender.
okay. So Dan Castellaneta is robot.
A
Santa.
robot Santa.
Is DiMaggio Barbados Slim?
Ooh, unclear.
It's not Lamarche doing both characters.
Yeah, it might be
I-
Maurice.
Might be
Okay.
Maurice, yeah. It'd be
I
fun
don't-
if it was Maurice.
I don't know.
doing his own rival.
I really did think it was DiMaggio. It just made me think back to there's a great movie. It's called I Know That Voice, and it's a little documentary about voice actors and how voice acting works as a medium. Someone was talking about the only white white man that they would ever trust to like voice a black character is John DiMaggio. Obviously, that's got weird connotations, but like that's why when Barbados Slim was talking, I was like, is that John DiMaggio? Did they just get him to voice a lot of side characters in this movie?
Did that story go long enough for you to figure out who voiced? Not quite yet. All right.
This lets me segue into another point, though. I did feel like some of the voices needed warming up.
As in they didn't do a bit of a proper
felt,
vocal warm-up?
Well, maybe it's just having a gap
Spent
and
too
then
long.
coming back to a character.
Have you listened to Radiorama?
Nope.
It sounds a lot like a lot of the characters do not sound like themselves, and we were
Okay.
trying to figure out whether that was the way that they were edited in post,
Yeah.
or if it has been a couple
John
of years
DiMaggio
past.
is
It is.
Slim.
I knew it! Sorry, I didn't mean to yell into the mic, but I did know it because I was
What if
like,
they alter his voice?
no, that's just him.
You can just do that.
Let me tell you, that's him. People at home, watch. I know that voice.
Wait a
because
minute,
It's
it was
very
John DiMaggio.
delightful.
Yeah.
That just clicked. That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Were you not listening to this whole thing, Sean?
I wasn't. Where am I? What am I doing? Get out of my room. I'm trying to sleep.
You're in your own bedroom, and we are bombarding you with recording a podcast.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
11
it doesn't
PM.
matter anymore because he's dead. So
Yeah.
Oh,
he got crushed by a door.
Yikes.
So
But
guys,
that's all right, because that's a totally curable thing in the future.
It's true.
probably the
Let's
most
get back to the
difficult
episode.
part of the format here.
Oh, no.
Phil, can you please
Run
succinctly
down the
run down the
plot.
plot
Try
of
and run
Bender's
down
Big
the plot.
Score?
I guess the first thing is
In 5
Futurama is. I'm not doing it 5 seconds. The first thing is that everyone's been fired because the
Box Studios
fired them all, ran out of money or something.
Yes.
Oh no, they're just idiots and
They're
they
just
punched
idiots.
themselves in the face.
They're asinine morons who were fired for incompetence and then beaten to a pulp and then...
Died.
Ground into a fine powder, which
yeah.
then shows up again and again and again all the way through the film,
But
which
they
is
don't-
quite a nice callback.
But
joke.
they don't hold any grudges, guys.
Oh,
No.
it's like at a point you're going, ooh, guys. Like,
They get rehired and they're back and they have a little introduction for all of them. It's very fun. They have a delivery to a nude planet and these nude scammers go around getting everyone's email addresses. Everyone gives away all their personal information and the scammers basically get not only Planet Express but also control of Bender, eventually the whole Earth.
Mm-hmm.
and if we do want to refer to him, the main guy's name is Nudar.
Nuda. It's so creative. I love it.
Subtle.
They also find a tattoo on Fry's arse, which turns out to have the universal machine language time code.
And it's Bender's head.
It's Bender's head, and in his eyes, the time code. And it turns out that can summon a time sphere, which can then take you back into any point in time. The only person who can really use it is Bender, because he can just wait in the basement
Yeah.
for 1,000, 3,000 years, whatever, and just crop up again with whatever treasure he has found.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do that a lot. He does it a lot.
It's quite a good gag, I must say.
But the Nibblonians warned that it will destroy the whole universe through too many paradoxes and unmet reality, essentially. So they only use it a couple of times. Nudar and his crew get a bit hairy about now they're rich, they don't want the universe destroyed.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah, so they decide to erase the time code by killing Fry, right?
Yeah.
They send Bender back in time to kill Fry.
Are you following?
And then it
A
all
lot.
gets really weird from then. There's about 4 duplicate Fries because Fry can also read the code off his own arse.
Yeah.
And then we have a kind of thing in the modern time where everyone loses control of Earth and they have to go to Neptune and team up with
Robot Santa.
Robot Santa and the
Hanukkah
Hanukkah Zombie and Kwanzaa Bot.
And Nixon, I guess.
And Nixon and
Zap Brannigan.
to win back control of Earth. But we're also following Fry's journey in the past where he becomes a narwhal trainer and travels to the North Pole to get his narwhal friend back.
Did you
Named
write this plot
Lilu.
down, or is this off the
This
top
is
of your
off
head?
the top of my
Yeah,
head.
You're doing well.
Phil is trying very hard, guys.
He's having an aneurysm.
Also, what's happening in the present is there's some dude called Lars who is a head in a jar technician who Leela falls in love with, but Lars leaves her at the altar because
Reasons.
because he finds out that cloned bodies are doomed.
Whoop.
Whoop. Anyway, it turns out that
Breathe.
Lars is Fry because he comes back from his narwhal trip realizing that his narwhal friend has found a love of her life and it's more important that she is happy than he is happy.
Yes.
He goes back to his apartment. Bender comes to murder him. And instead of murdering him, it burns off his hair, most of his beard, and damages his larynx.
Sure.
So then he freezes himself so that he can appear back in the future to meet Leela, have a short affair with her,
As
find
Lars.
out as Lars, find out that he's doomed, and then take one of the rogue benders
with Nudar,
explode him by pulling him out of the cryogenic capsule
chamber
where he Fry kicked him into in the past in one of the jump backs that they've done. At some point, the Bender gets his volition back because they erase the time code from his memory, but it also erases the virus that controls him. Everything seems to be sorted out until Bender goes to tie up the last loose bow by putting the time code on Fry's butt. Also, where does the time code come from originally? Because
that was my question.
Just takes it off Lars's butt, so it
Where did
doesn't
it
come from
originally-
anywhere.
When
You've
did
got
he
enough-
get the tattoo?
No one knows.
You've got enough on your
But-
plate, Phil. Don't
but-
stress it.
Having tied up that loose end, all the replica benders emerge from the limestone cave beneath the Planet Express building all at once. The universe starts to explode. The end.
Can I just say?
Ow, my head hurts.
Can I just say, Phil, you've done so well.
Thank you.
and
It's
that's
not in order.
And
That's
that's
not in order.
That was very stressful to watch.
and that's not even beginning to get into the Hermes subplot either.
Yeah, I just noticed at a certain point.
Side note.
when you were like, Lars had to pull off the wedding because he learns that duplicate bodies, and I'm like, oh, we've missed the whole Hermes.
We've missed the whole
side
Hermes. So
plot.
one of the side plots is Hermes gets his head cut off.
And his body is ruined.
How does he get his head cut off?
Oh, with the swords because he's having a limbo competition.
It's
with
right in the
swords.
beginning. He's having a limbo competition. He wins, and then the sword falls off the wall and cuts his head off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then his body
gets
falls
crushed.
underneath the Planet Express ship
Yes.
and is crushed irreparably. And they're like, is he okay?
Now,
And his body will be fine, but it'll take a week.
A week.
and later a few months to a year.
And then a few months later,
But we can't wait that long because
Dwight needs his
his
father.
child needs a daddy.
And so La Barbara gets with Barbados Slim, and there's a whole thing about Hermes trying to win
La Barbara back,
La Barbara
yeah.
back, which he does finally by using his bureaucratic brain to control the ragtag fleet of Earthicans against
Have
the
we?
scammers.
Is that everyone? Have we covered everyone?
I
We-
don't
yes,
think
let's go
we
with that.
have,
And there's
but
no other kind of
let's-
major side plots. I
don't
guess.
think major ones.
So the very
Just little
first thing
moments.
Let's
that
just
I'll
leave
say
that.
is that
Oh god, that
it
made my
is
head hurt.
weird to have a Futurama film. The first
It is
time
a
I
bit
watched
odd,
this,
yeah.
it's odd because it runs for 4 times longer
Oh,
than a
yeah.
usual episode.
Yeah, so this is going to be 4 times longer this episode.
My housemates will hate me.
Yes.
So, very first thing I shall say to you people is, guys, what did we think?
While I did have a lot of fun, I feel like the pacing was just a bit off. Like, I feel like this could have been done... How long... What was the running time?
89 minutes.
It's a long 89 minutes,
Yeah,
which is a shame.
I feel like it could have been done in an hour, honestly.
I think so. You could streamline it a lot.
I feel like it should be more like a extra long episode
yeah.
than a whole film. I think
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
work better in that kind of slightly
I
in-between
mean,
format.
I really did. While I enjoyed the whole "screw you" attitude to Fox, like the whole opening, I feel like it's 10 minutes or something. It devotes to just being like, "Screw you,
Fuck you.
and we hate you, and you died terribly, and everyone danced on your graves." And I'm like,
and now you're a powder
yeah, I'm
that
like-
we use all the way through the film.
But don't worry, guys, they don't hold a grudge. Like,
At all.
I was like, I do like the kind of vigor that inspires you to just be like, nah, we're back, and screw you haters that kept us back.
I kind of like that they revel in that it's a film format and everyone gets like a little
Yeah.
green screen introduction.
I also
and-
love, I think we all talked about how much we like the new opening with an extra kind of
The theme.
melody line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's nice.
more
I don't know if
synth.
they keep that for the new
don't
series.
think
I
so.
doubt they do.
I like it. I feel like this has a lot of enthusiasm behind it. I don't get the kind of burnt out or lazy feeling that sometimes I get in subpar episodes. Like, there's a lot of passion that comes, and of course, when you've been cancelled and you get the chance to come back, of course it's going to be full of like, yes. I just wish that it had been streamlined a little more. I feel
Yeah.
like what works. There's just a lot of kind of extraneous detail that I don't really need.
There's a big ambition to the episode.
Yeah,
where they, like,
totally.
You know, time travel, multiple plots running through, universal scale to the plot as well, big climactic battle, all that stuff. I just feel like the ambition gets a little bit of the better of them, and then when they're trying to run lots of plots together, like you say, it kills the pacing a little bit. There's a few bits where it just really slows down and not really enough kind of happens to actually advance plot points.
Any bits in particular? Because I don't really care about... I mean, I love Hermes as a character, but I don't really care about his subplot. And some of the duplicate fries, I'm just like, I feel like we need maybe one duplicate.
Yeah. I think for me it's around the point where the whole Earth gets taken over and they have to go to Neptune with the Christmas, the
Neptunians.
the holiday,
the holiday
entities,
deities, as it were.
and they have a song, and I just
you're
I'm really losing interest at that point.
You're touching on kind of what my problem was in it, and it's contextual in the sense of yes, okay, I fully understand that it was a movie, and so they weren't sure if they were going to get another one, and they weren't sure if they were going to get series after this. They deliberately
just like
put
cram in everything.
every single
That was
person.
the other point I was going to make.
So I don't need that. And I understand contextually you're going, well, this is the... You don't know what's happening. However, that being said, I don't need half the people we see in this film to be there.
I feel like the feeling behind it, I don't get frustrated. I feel with all the good feeling and like, yes, we want to come back and come back strong and, you know, here's all the ideas that you never got to see. That kind of coasts me through the whole length of it. Whereas I feel like if it didn't have that kind of just joy to be back, I'd be like, oh, come on, guys, I'm bored. I got stuff to do. My ironing is burning and the kitchen is on fire and blah, blah, blah. And
How do you
like,
do your ironing?
Yeah.
Just leave it to do itself. Like, it's burning.
I kind of wish that, like, if I was looking at that episode, I would take a lot of those extra characters that they, shoehorned in there, and I would really lean into what Bender alluded to, which is it's about to get a lot more confusing, and just make it really confusing, like time travel.
Okay.
Like when I think of Looper, for example,
Yeah.
the film that had Bruce Willis, there's a point where he's sitting there with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Don't explain it.
Just don't think about it. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you do, no, just stop.
And
Honestly-
maybe that unmaking a universe, just getting really, really, really convoluted would have been good.
I
yeah.
honestly don't feel that the time traveling was mishandled in this, though. I was going to reference
No.
Looper as well, because I feel like they don't spend a whole lot of time. They know what they need to do with it. It's more just the extraneous subplots that I'm like, could do without. But I feel like the addition of time travel works really well.
They
Like,
set the rules and then they stick to them.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's what you need for a satisfying time travel
Yeah.
story. They don't set something up So there's a couple of big sins with time travel. Don't set up the rules, and so anything is possible and you don't really have a handle on it. Or set up rules and then sort of break them when it's convenient. And they don't do either of those things.
don't fuck your relatives, or do, as we see in Roswell that ends well.
Yeah, that's right. Time travel is impossible.
I mean, Back to the Future is all about this whole thing of like, please don't fuck your mother.
Yeah.
Farnsworth's
Please.
best line, which is, and I think that would be something that I would remember.
And who are you?
Yeah. I just feel like it's a big, strong comeback. And yes, they go hard and fail in a few bits.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at it for failing. I'm
No.
quite happy for it for bits to go on for a bit longer than I would ideally like. But a lot of the jokes land.
That for me is the big saving grace. Is that it's
Yeah.
really funny, and there are loads of great and funny moments.
Yeah, and for me, the best way to it would just be to tighten it up, zip through. We could still have some of these subplots, but just make it kind of a tiny percentage
You know
of it.
what's really
Yeah.
helpful is that all the characters are the same as they were in the series. There wasn't an attempt to update the characters and make them zany for the kind of new, like, it's 2007, let's kind of Family Guy
Yeah,
or Simpsons
yeah.
it. Zoidberg
There's
is
even
still
a dig
Zoidberg.
at Family Guy.
Which
Oh.
I appreciate as a lifelong hater of Family Guy.
I'm not. I think they even give it a bit of a
Kick up the ass.
No. I think 12 laughs a year is maybe a bit generous.
Generous, yeah.
Losing
I
the three
feel like-
fans of us who like Family Guy.
This might
Dear.
make your brains bleed, but we have to thank Family Guy for the
No.
resurrection of Futurama.
I refuse.
So when Family Guy
Please
first
explain.
when Family Guy first went off the air, they actually started trialing. They brought a few movie-length episodes. They trialed the movie idea direct to DVD.
Oh, this is what I was asking you. Yeah.
And this came to great success. So Futurama looked at it and went, well, why don't we try that? And so they pitched it to Fox, and it took them a while, or whoever was running the Comedy Central. I don't know who picks it up at this point. I haven't looked into
Pretty
that.
sure Comedy Central picks
Yes.
it up.
Yeah.
They
So
pick it
they
up for the
pitch it.
series.
And then finally they run with it and say, well, Family Guy did it, and they successfully got their series back. So that's why Futurama decided to do it, because they saw a market for direct-to-DVD animation, and that's what kind of was the impetus.
Can I just say, I refuse to thank Family Guy for anything. I'm sorry. I
Seth
know.
MacFarlane, Ellen thanks you profusely.
So speaking of the
Fuck you.
so speaking of the bad guys,
Nice. Good
what
segue.
what do we think
Oh,
of
fucking Nudar.
of Nudar and the baddies as villains and as characters?
Look, as far as world building goes, I love this introduction of the idea of what is it, scrounging?
Scammer?
Scrounging?
Scrunging.
Ooh, it's a disgusting word, either
It's a
way.
disgusting word, but
With
I
their,
just
like,
in fact, they can sense
the
information.
gross little goiters that they have that, like,
they get erections
Oh.
off like information.
they do.
Yeah, they
basically.
it gets very sexual.
Oh, I don't like it.
I don't like
I-
it, so I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I like them as villains because you really dislike them. They're really irritating,
yeah,
get under
just-
your skin.
Just jumping off that, I like them as villains because they're dumb. They move the plot forward. Like, what you see is what you get. And sometimes I like that in a villain. Like, I'm so sick of people being like, no, they have a tortured backstory. It's like, give me a dumb villain whose motivations make sense because they are dumb. It's a singular motivation. Like,
They want power.
They want
They want-
power.
they want money, basically.
and then, yeah,
It's even
they-
less than power. They just want to have all the things that
Yeah.
other people have.
And then I do love the fact that once they are very well set up, then they're suddenly invested in the world and they're like, maybe we shouldn't ruin it.
It's a nice little touch
Guys?
of like social commentary.
Yeah.
isn't it? Of, like
now that
philanthropy.
now
from,
that
from
we're
rich
rich,
people.
I suddenly care about the world dying.
Interesting. What should we do?
And what they do when they have all the money is they build like 20 gold Death Stars.
Yeah, I
It's
can't
quite fun.
fault them for that. Like, I get it. I get it.
Someone brought this up like just before this. Too late by the time they decide. But why at no point do they just not use violence against them?
Oh, yeah, I brought this up.
I
This
guess
was
because
Sean
they-
that
Yeah,
brought this
Sean
up.
brought this up.
I guess they're both like...
There are 3 of them. Like, everyone adheres to the rules of law
Yeah.
and
why
logic.
why does Nixon not just set Agnew on them?
And also, why, when the Nibblonians come in...
They're so ineffectual.
Are they all warning shots? Because they're shooting so many lasers at these 3 very obvious pink, squishy, gross targets, and none of them make. So I'm like, are the Nibblonians being diplomatic? Are they firing warning shots?
also
They're just
the
bad.
Nibblonians-
They're
They're
just
just
bad at flying.
terrible.
The Nibblonians no longer seem to care about brain wiping everyone else. They're like, apparently it's just a thing now that Nibbler can talk to everyone.
And Nibblonians exist.
Leela had one little line which is like, oh, you can talk. It's like, I can do many other things. I can pontificate.
Yeah,
But other than that, everyone's like...
everyone's kind of cool with it.
It's like
Yeah.
my favorite thing of the entire episode is when Fry meets Fry, and both Frys are totally cool with it. Hey,
One of
me?
them's a bit of a dick to the
Yeah,
other
I was
one.
going to say,
But-
they're not totally cool. It's not like Scott Pilgrim versus the World where Nega Scott and Scott just have like a nice conversation because they're essentially the same person.
Yeah.
This
But
is
they
the
don't
opposite.
they don't have an existential crisis about it.
No,
It's just like,
they're not
Yeah.
like
good
freaked
shot,
out.
me.
Yeah, it's more just like...
He's like, oh, good kick. And he's like, what are you doing here? And he says, well,
Pizza.
I
Oh,
used
that's
the
right.
time code to get warm pizza. And he's like, you shouldn't do that. It's
He's like, you fat
irresponsible.
It's like,
slob.
well, thank me. Like, you can enjoy cold pizza then.
Yeah, and I think that's why one of them goes back and one doesn't, because of
Yes.
that argument. And
Yeah.
that's why you get the 2 fries.
It's interesting, though, because, I mean, I feel like if you were meeting yourself, wouldn't it be more of a Scott Nager Scott
This is Fry
situation?
we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
where you,
like more like the Nudar interaction
you're
where he
most-
just has sex with himself.
yes,
Oh,
someone
yeah.
raised an interesting point. I think it was your roommate talking about...
Josh,
He was like, is that gay? And I'm like, well, no, because
masturbation.
masturbation isn't gay, but then
It's
if
not
it's...
technically. I don't
if
know.
it's-
Let's not.
This is the whole big conversation. Whereas if you had
Is
a
it
clone,
though? Is it a big
if you had-
conversation?
if you had sex with your clone, is it masturbation or incest?
It's irrelevant.
Okay, as the voting on episodes happen, let's vote on that.
I don't care. Well, just
yeah.
while we have Nibbler, I do like his exit from the film at the very end where he says, "Everybody out of the universe," and then he just
He
Just
just
kind
he
of
just
Im-
pops out of
Just
existence.
implodes
Yeah,
into
he
himself.
Yeah.
And
It's great.
is that a function that we all have?
speaking
If we
of,
do, we don't know how.
speaking of functions,
His
Whoa.
Bender is a dispenser of oil. He can just go.
Yeah.
and like oil squirts out of him.
He has a rod in his spine.
And he also has an umbrella shade thing for himself at the beach, the nude beach.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a shade / solar panel.
Yeah.
But which is weird because we know that
He's
robots
not
are powered by
solar-powered.
alcohol.
And I do love the touch that he found the 6-pack of alcohol on the ground in the cryogenic chamber.
Yeah, which is the one that
Fry
has
drinks
the one
here
off. Yeah,
And
which he
just
has
the 5
in the,
left.
Yeah,
Phew,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
That's
I love
an-
little
No,
kind of...
that's a nice little touch.
They even have the city destroyed in the background while he's frozen
Yeah.
because of the space battle between
Sweden? And...
Sweden and Bender.
Which is such a weird way to explain
What
that.
a
It's like,
sentence.
how do we
Yeah.
explain that? Sweden.
I guess we were talking a bit earlier about there are a lot of callbacks, and some of them are neat and fun, and
Roswell.
the little ones like little reference to Roswell. The Seymour's on the shelf in the background. One of the scenes, Farnsworth uses his finger longer when he's talking to the Harlem
It's just a part of the world.
Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I
And I like a lot of those. Some of them are not so good.
Can I nitpick?
No.
Well, why not? Why
Oh
ever
yes,
not?
I mean yes. Sorry.
It's our motto.
Well, since you said no, I mean, no, I'm going to do it anyway, of course. I don't like that Seymour is an ornament. I feel like maybe they put him in the background just to be like, remember Seymour? So that when we see Seymour alive, people are like, oh yeah, Seymour. I feel like you don't need to do that. And also with the arc that is Jurassic Park. I said it right this time. Whoa. Nice one, me. With the arc that comes from Jurassic Park. Nice.
I'm just glad that you said Jurassic Park
Just keep
this
moving.
time.
Sorry,
we get stuck
sorry.
in this
Instead of
loop.
Park.
No, we need to stop every time I need to congratulate myself. Yeah, that means letting go and saying goodbye, and I don't feel like it's right for him to keep Seymour as an ornament on a shelf afterwards. I feel like the natural progression of that episode would be to have a funeral or a burial or something to let Seymour go, not have him as a gaudy thing stuck on a shelf.
Say
I
that,
feel like he's just been forgotten up there. Like
yeah.
he's just been put out the way.
I
Like he's
kn-
not even on display.
I know, but
Would you
that
say that
feels...
introducing Seymour kind of misses the mark? Bark?
Oh no, no,
Please
Sean,
stop.
no. I mean, it's not. Thank goodness it's not lampshaded. He's not like under a character's feet in the foreground.
No.
Like I had to shout out, "Hey, look, Seymour's on the shelf." Otherwise, he might not even notice it's there.
No.
Possibly.
Almost like it's in the dark. So,
Stop. He's got his rhyming dictionary out.
suicide booths are 25 cents, and to do a
50
phone
cents.
call is 50 cents.
Ah.
So it is cheaper to kill yourself than to make a phone call in New York.
I mean, I always knew that. I like that antidepressants come in gummy form. That would have totally helped me during one of my many mental breakdowns.
Oh, it helped me
Guess I-
now.
Guess I feel a little better. There are some really good lines, and a lot of them are the most underplayed lines, I
Yeah.
find. Among my favorites is, how did the time code get on Fry's butt? It had to be somewhere.
Yeah, that's the one line I wrote down.
It
Yes.
just has to be somewhere. I just like Al Gore. He gets to save the world with deadly lasers
Yeah,
instead
and also
of
we
deadly
can
slideshows.
we can finally explain why Bush won the election.
Yes.
I guess that some of that stuff is fun, but I guess it's
A
also
bit dated.
It's also an example of where the pacing is a bit off. Bender's whole hunt through the past of finding all the different Fries.
Yeah.
Where he goes back to
Almost a
he see-
Terminator-esque
Yeah,
kind of
and he sees
divergence.
the same Fry twice. He's on the street, but he's also got an apartment, and his butt is clean. Like there are some good jokes
the
in there.
the other Philip Fry.
Yeah, that's right. You've almost forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Like there are a few little good gags in that. Bit,
I could
but
have
it's
done
so
without.
unnecessary.
I could have done without the Michelle.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird.
We didn't need the extra
Constantine.
Philip Fry. Yeah, that's right. His name's Constantine, and he has a
Ew.
nice butt. That's it.
The whole section.
The
I
joke
would cut
is
out.
one Fry has a nice butt, one Fry has an unclean butt, and that's
Oh.
about the extent of those
I didn't
jokes.
think
Yeah.
it was about cleanliness. I just thought it was about.
He said your butt is clean, metaphorically at least. So physically, it's not clean.
It's
I don't know.
weird.
Yeah. There's also the line where it's talking about Fry's rectum.
Oh, he managed to
that's-
save 40% of Fry's rectum.
That's all you
right.
need.
That's right. When the tattoo is removed from Fry's butt, they're talking about his rectum, but his tattoo is clearly on his arse cheek,
No.
not inside the rectum. Like
I didn't know Nibbler had an eye laser, so
if Fry does have a tattoo in his rectum, none of us have seen it. So maybe they got rid of that one as well. Two for the price of one.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is the Hall of Screaming Skulls.
So romantic.
and the pan around when they kiss.
Oh my
And there's just
God.
skulls screaming
Yeah.
everywhere.
As a goth, Yes. I get it. This is the introduction of, I feel, for me, and this is topping a long line of sexy outfits, Leela's date outfit with Lars in this episode. Her green dress with a big boobie cut out. Especially, they finally cracked onto the thing, which is green and purple go
For her
very
hair, yeah,
well
yeah.
together.
You didn't like Devil's
Thank
Hands,
God.
Leela.
No, because they put too much purple on her, and it's like, okay, she's got purple hair, you've put her in a purple gown, and you've got purple gloves, but all these purples clash. Not good. Whereas the green complements her hair beautifully.
While we're on alternate appearances,
Fry.
Fisherman
Fry.
Fry.
Yes, I knew you were going to say
love
that.
Fisherman Fry.
That was my second. That was going to be my second point. I love Fisherman Fry.
Gives him a lot of gravitas. I think.
And especially because he's an older Fry as
yes,
well.
yeah. Weirdly though, about Lars or Fry.
Yeah.
I wish that they'd given a reason that he picked that particular name. It's just a random
Lars.
Lars, with Lars Fillmore, and that's about as much as we don't get a reason
Yeah.
why.
It's not like an anagram.
No.
or
No,
something,
and
or-
there's got Phil in it, which
Just
is
has
kind of
Phil in the
okay.
name and
But
that's it.
the other thing is that, yeah, okay, he's a bit older, but he's funnier, more intelligent.
And he knows about much more things like wars, certain
yeah,
wars.
he's
and
like, he seems like a completely different person.
like, is it like now that he's a clone, he doesn't lack the Delta brainwave? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's way smarter.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the thing of you learn.
He just
I
improved
don't know.
himself over the years. Maybe.
Well, I can understand that he gets more mature. That
but
makes
he's almost
sense.
an entirely different
Yes,
person.
he
Yeah.
really is.
I do really get that. I was a bit annoyed about the Lars Leela romance because I just didn't get it. Like, I didn't get why she would be swooning over not very funny jokes and not very smooth pickup lines just immediately. And it's like, I wish that they had expanded more on it's Fry, but the version of Fry that Fry will become.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a mature Fry,
He's
which
too
is
different.
desperately what Leela has wanted all this time. A Fry who's just a bit like kind of less hot on her, a bit calmer, a bit more sure of himself, but not in a cocky way.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that they had expanded that, whereas I feel like Lars is almost a different character.
And it sort of retcons the whole of Devil's Hands,
Can I
right?
mention
Yeah.
the thing that bothered me about this film is that they do not bother to explain what happened between Devil's Hands and Benner's Big Score that
to nix
reset-
their relationship.
that
yeah.
reset it completely.
Because
Like,
it feels
even-
like they're about to have a start of a lovely relationship,
yeah,
right?
because that was the whole point of
It
the ending.
just doesn't work out.
Yet it just
Yeah.
hits. Even if it was just a line about, well, Fry, you never really matured, or whatever, just something
Yeah.
that went. We are still friends, obviously, but that
They can
part
make a
of
gag
the-
out of it as
Yeah.
well. That'd be awesome. Just
Yeah.
goes completely unaddressed.
Actual Fry and Leela are very much separate in this movie, which I feel like is a detriment. I wish there had been more Fry as a support system. Like, I know he's there when Lars breaks up with Leela and he's kind of there, but it would have been stronger to have Leela reach out to him, maybe.
Have their friendship be stronger after the events of 4 previous seasons.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen Leela reach out to Fry as a friend.
The sting, for starters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also like while she's dating someone else, and then there's usually the intrigue of like, oh, how does Fry feel about all this? But yeah, it's just like I'd like to see actual Fry and Leela together as opposed to alternate Fry and duplicate Fry and Leela and Lars and all this stuff. It's like, okay, that's good in terms of like putting a little spice in the plot, but I still want to see the Leela and Fry that I love.
That we just left behind. I
Yeah.
mean, for us, it's like a couple.
week.
It's a week, right? But for audiences, it would have been 2 years.
Yeah.
So I guess they were kind of banking on that to just reset the relationship. But
guess.
it's not very satisfying.
Interestingly enough, there are a few big plot points that they decide not to address in this first film. I know they do address it in the next film especially, but Amy and Kif don't have any interaction whatsoever.
No.
Kif is shown once to shade Zach Brannigan's thighs from the wind,
Yes, that's it.
which is a beautiful use of
I
Kif.
wrote down the quote, but I can't find it. It's a really good one.
Give.
Shield my
Crouch
thigh.
down and shield my thighs
from the breeze.
cold breeze.
I remember, for God's sake, certainly. Like, it's-
God's sake.
There's an element of immediacy needed in there.
I like. Does anyone mind if I take command? Nope.
No.
I'm cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to admit, the very first time I watched this, which was about a week ago now, it caught me by surprise. But when Fry's kind of returning to normalcy, when he's back in the year 2000,
2000, yeah.
he's with his family again, and he's playing with Seymour, and he's got his job back. And then I wasn't expecting it, but he sees the picture of Leela, and he just breaks down and he starts crying.
He's really sobbing too.
That is what you meant. Okay, because I was looking through my notes and it says, I don't like Fry crying.
No, it's distressing.
And that was when
It's
it
really
was.
sad.
It's really... I feel like this is also the thing of everyone coming back. Everyone is so ready to get back and do just a standout job. I mean, I felt it less when Leela is crying after Lars leaves her at the altar.
Because we don't have any attachment to Lars.
I don't have any attachment to Lars. The crying is still a bit upsetting, but not as much as Fry sounds distraught and alone and
because you get this expectation of, he's settling down into the year 2000, everything's fine. But it's that thing of people look fine, but then in their kind of private setting by themselves, he's lost the one thing that kept him going over the past 4 years. That was his attachment to his reality. It was Leela. It's his one constant.
it's also the
And
thing.
to a lesser extent, Bender. But
Yes,
you're right.
Fuck Bender.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that because this movie is called Bender's Big Score, and Bender is not really...
He doesn't have a lot of agency at all.
He is totally auxiliary. He just is there to advance the plot.
Wait a minute.
little
He
bit.
gets ordered around.
What is Bender's big score? Is it just him getting the
Time
stuff?
code.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
I guess, yeah.
Or getting all the stuff for the others?
The unfinished
Yeah.
Mona Lisa and like...
So it's Nudar's big score.
Tutankhamun's death mask and
It's pretty
Van
much
Gogh's
that, yeah.
sunflowers.
So I guess if they called it Nudar's big score, it just wouldn't.
Like the title just doesn't hang to what actually happens
yeah,
in
big
the
score
episode.
implies to me a heist.
Yes.
Yeah, like and one revolving around one big moment, whereas it's just him doing it repeatedly.
Yeah, so
and
it's
I
not
guess
a-
his only big score is that he gets the Doomsday device
Yeah.
that
I
I feel
saves
like it
the
should have been
world.
something time travel related. Just
It's not a big
yeah.
score, and it's not about Bender. So
No.
Yeah, that's right. On how we as the audience feel about Leela's relationship with
Lars.
Lars, the rest of the crew, when they're having that song, which is a good
The other song.
the other song,
Yeah,
which
about
I think is actually
Shut Up,
good.
Leela.
That song.
Right, yeah.
They all say like "Shut up, Leela, I won't hear about it again, hear about it anymore." And I think that's how the audience is supposed to feel, which I think
Yeah.
is like a bit of a misses the mark a little bit,
Yeah.
because like as you say, when she's upset, when that all breaks down and it's a mystery why,
Yeah.
you just don't feel invested. You just
No.
like,
It
No.
would have been, not that I think it would have solved anything, but it would make more sense to have the other characters, apart from Fry, go, you and Lars are great. For them
they
to
do a
be
bit when they get engaged.
I know,
yeah.
but for them to be a little bit invested, as opposed in the song to be like, shut up, we don't care. It's kind of like, but me, the audience, I'm like, I don't care either. Does that mean I'm justified? Like, I should be kind of feeling I alone am identifying with Fry, being like, I don't like this guy. Like, I
don't trust
I
him.
don't-
Why does
Seriously,
everyone like
you
him?
were
Yeah.
you were the one person because I knew the twist
Mm-hmm.
in my last viewing because I had heard things about it. You didn't know anything about Big
No.
Score. Did you,
I had forgotten
Did you peg,
until halfway through.
did you peg on the twist before it happened?
As soon as I saw Lars, I was like, that is Billy West. And
Yes.
also, I shouted this out, I'm pretty sure.
He looks the same.
That's the same character model as Fry.
But did you peg that it was Fry?
Yeah, when did it click home for you? Was
I
it
was like,
not until the actual reveal?
after meeting Lars for the first time, I was just like, there has to be a payoff here because they wouldn't have such a... Billy West is a very good voice actor.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do clearly...
same voice.
almost the same voice as Fry, and they wouldn't model him the same as Fry if there wasn't going to be a payoff. So when there was, I was like, that's
Yeah.
okay.
I think the audience kind of should get it.
yeah.
Yes.
When he says, "Oh, doomed bodies," like clone bodies are doomed. Like I think that's when the audience is supposed to start piecing it together.
Yeah.
I think you're not meant to
If
wait
if
until
not
the
then,
final reveal.
until he's saying "I've loved you since forever." Like
Yeah.
I've been waiting
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you
yeah.
since forever.
I
It's
just wish there had been a better... I want to know that it's the best parts of Fry that she's falling for. I just feel like that would have made the romance arc a little bit sweeter. Like, this would probably be over-egging the pudding, but maybe if Lars had played the holophone or something like that. Just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
little touch to be like, I've learnt... and this is my way of... Yeah, and also because surely Lars in quotation marks, I mean duplicate Fry, surely he wants to connect with Leela in the way that he did before. You would never want to fall in... someone that you'd fallen in love with, you wouldn't want to meet them not knowing it's you, and have a completely different interaction with them. You would still interact with them in the same-ish kind of way, and you would still want to show your love in the same kind of love
way, yeah.
language. So... that for me would have made the romance a little bit sweeter. It would have made it more obvious what they're doing with Lars.
Maybe a bit more nuanced as well.
Yeah.
Any other like little moments that you think are worth highlighting before we wrap it
Panucci,
up?
I feel like it has good pizza because look at that cheese drag. When Fry bites into that pizza, look, I'm going to say it, that's about 8 inches of cheese drag. That's a good fucking pizza.
Yes, but also I do not believe that any of that pizza has not previously been inside the trash.
Okay,
Yeah, fair
but hear me out. Cheese drag.
But also, we know the dog swims in the meatballs.
You could pull out literal garbage cover as long as you have good cheese. It's savable.
I'm
One
going to
has-
put
he
cheese
gives
in
him
the
a
garbage
piece
and
of
give
pizza
it
with
to-
a cigarette butt on it.
Yeah, does it have good cheese?
Okay. I like.
so distressing.
I like. Oh, and I even got the recipe, the KFC secret recipe. It's chicken grease salt.
I totally missed
You
that.
missed that? It's like it's in the.
I think we were talking over it for some reason.
He brings the scammers the Gutenberg Bible, the first ever printed book, and he's like, I even wrote down the recipe for KFC in it, and it's chicken grease salt. It's great. It's a great gag.
I want to congratulate Bender on being promoted to assistant manager of sales.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
It's
Okay.
pretty good.
I get it. He's very pushy.
I guess.
So
I like Scruffy. Who is this guy again?
He's a DJ of some sort.
Yeah, I'll kill this guy. Who is he? I'm Scruffy, the janitor. No, like, he's instantly invested, which is great. What does this mean for us and our many fans?
yes.
It's just so bad. I love it.
Literal fans in the background. It does, because I was going to nitpick this as well, but it almost immediately told me to shut up. In their little opening, when they introduce the characters, Leela and Fry, their hair is blowing in different directions. And I was like, oh, that makes me angry. And then when Leela's like, what does this mean for us and our fans? Literal fans blowing in the background. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that will... I guess that
that'll
will
do.
appease me.
Gotcha.
I like the sexy nurse.
The blonde bimbo.
sexy
The blonde bimbo
nurse.
nurse who just happens
She's
to
a
be...
doctor.
Who
She's
just
not a
happens
nurse.
to be
She's a
ditzy.
doctor.
Is she? Oh,
She's a
that's right.
doctor.
No, I realize now because in my notes I was saying, for me it just reminded me of Hello Nurse from Animaniacs. Did anyone?
Oh, right, yeah,
Did
yeah,
anyone
yeah,
watch
yeah.
Animaniacs?
Yes.
Great
Yes. Love that
character
show.
because it's like they have a whole song about.
Nurse.
Yes, she's sexy, but she's also very smart.
Very,
and she-
very
and
intelligent, yeah.
You know, she's a nurse for God's sake. She's a medical practitioner.
She's a professional woman. Yeah.
exactly. And I feel like they were almost going that direction.
And then,
But she just happens to be ditzy.
Yeah.
We are told just because she is blonde and has a breathy voice does
And an
not...
amazing body.
She does have an amazing body.
My last one is the parachutes that the Nibblonians have. The little kitten parachutes that land over his head when he hits the ground. Oh, it's so cute. I love it.
It's not as cute, but I love super, super, super naked Zoidberg. Just when you can't think you can
Yeah.
get any more naked,
Oh, God.
watch Zoidberg and
Yeah.
his jiggling mass.
Has anyone seen... It's a Robbie Williams music video.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I don't wanna
He throws all his flesh.
DJ.
And he just rips his
Because you
skin off.
make... Yeah, he's doing a strip dance for, like, ladies, and they just keep demanding more, so he just takes off
Yeah.
his skin.
There's a
I
censored-
was scarred.
There's
as
a censored version of that film clip because a lot of people got scarred.
Can
Yeah,
I just
'cause it
tell
was
you
it's
though,
very
they
dark.
definitely didn't play that censored one. I want to say 7 years old, and I was at a bowling party,
Oh, right.
like another 7-year-old's birthday party that was in a bowling rink. Rink? No.
Alley.
Bowling alley, thank you. And yeah, that
Oh,
came
yeah.
over the big screen, and so we're just watching Robbie Williams degloving as a 7-year-old, and I'm
Ooh.
like, oh no.
I would just also like to mention that Bender's Big Score won the Annie Award for Best Home Entertainment Production, beating out one other.
One other
Tell
entry.
us. Tell us.
So this is an Annie for straight to DVD movies.
Basically,
Yeah.
yes. Doctor Strange is what it's called. It's some sort of Doctor Strange direct to DVD Marvel kind of TV
Okay.
animation production.
Right.
It's like a feature length
Yeah.
cartoon
Yeah.
That
about
you kind
Doctor
of see on
Strange.
Netflix a lot.
I almost
Yeah.
thought that you were going to say Dr.
movie?
Horrible's sing-along blog, but I know that
That
one...
can't win an Annie.
No, and also that
Very
did win an
far.
award, but they had to invent an award almost exclusively for
Yes.
it. It was like...
Because it was so groundbreaking.
It was like Internet Musical Blog thing. Look, here you go. I'm
Yeah,
sure you
take
put
it.
you
Take
put a
it.
lot of work into this.
2 things. Number 1, we cannot have a vote because
Nothing to put it against.
No, this is the first movie. I'm sorry, guys.
It's all right.
Just deal with it.
We'll
the
live.
current winner is Bender's Big Score. Congratulations, Bender's Big Score.
Well
Yay,
done.
well earned.
Default.
We do, however, do not get to default on a voice.
I know what I'm doing.
Go for it, Alan, and we'll follow suit.
I freed France from the Nazis.
What's his name?
Charles de Gaulle.
Thank you.
I wrote down some of his other quotes just in case
What's
you guys
the one he says
stole it
about
from me.
cuisine? Have you brought me some French haute cuisine?
Yeah. that's
Wait,
pretty-
so give me a line and prepare for this French to be from somewhere in Europe.
do you want me to speak it into the mic,
No,
or do you want me to do it off mic?
Let's
Hang
see.
Just show him the line. Just show it to him.
Magnifique.
Nice try.
Fine.
It is fine.
How dare you?
I know we're finished, but I
can
really like
only
the
do
scene
it.
with Hedonism Bot and, they're
yes,
talking
your
when he's
favorite-
when he's
favorite
selling
Futurama.
selling off the
Oh.
his doomsday devices.
Yes.
Oh, I do. I'm a connoisseur.
I also...
Say no more.
I wish I had mentioned this, but the little noise Farnsworth makes in regards to him, Hedonism Bot, and Jumby
Jumbe.
having a threesome, it was like,
They're going to get together and compare notes.
yes, and just like a little shy, coy look from Farnsworth, and I'm like, that's the Farnsworth I've grown to love.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
if you would
Oui,
like to follow the podcast that tracks my journey to perfecting the French accent.
Is it your journey, Sean, or is it all about Johnny?
No, because you have all perfected it. I have not. Yeah.
Of course.
Listen carefully, for I shall say this only once.
But once.
Yes, guys. If you do want to come back next week, we will be tackling the beast with a billion backs.
Whoa.
Ooh, tentacles.
Tentacle
Sounds
porn.
like we're getting in the mood.
We are. We're getting
As is
frisky.
every person on Earth, apparently.
Yeah. We will be getting very frisky next week, so if you'd like to join us to do
Ooh.
so, you can email us to join in the friskiness at babybeardmedia@gmail.com.
Please don't.
We've also got a Facebook where we post up stuff.
I shall not be putting any smut to the Instagram account, but if you'd
Ooh.
like to look for smut-free family fun, well, not really that family fun, but just look on our Instagram at Baby Beard Media.
All our stuff's on Spreaker and iTunes, so if you want to listen, wherever you want to find it, go look it up. And if you do like it, please give us some kind of rating or a review. Like, no one does it. It's literally if we give you any ounce of enjoyment, please do it, because it's one of the key things that helps us spread the word about our podcast and
Yeah. Or
even
enables
if-
us to make more.
Even if you don't enjoy it, just do it and then message me and I'll slip you something crisp.
So we're
You heard it here, guys.
we're also talking to you, Zachary, because yes, I did get your Twitter message 2 days ago.
Hi, Zach.
Zachary.
Hi.
Zachary said this to us: a little bit behind in my podcast listening. Just made it up to this episode today. To answer the question, yep, I'm still here. I'm in this for the long haul.
Oh, yay, Zachary! And say hello to your wife and your
Yes.
little bub.
Please do. Yes, that's so
So
charming.
glad I was actually talking to my mum about Zachary in the car because she was like, "Why won't you stop swearing on the podcast?" And I'm like,
Zachary doesn't mind.
"Yeah," I was like, "Zachary doesn't mind, and he's a pastor, so."
Who's Zachary? What are you talking about?
Yeah, look, she's not with it entirely.
Is she going to listen to this episode?
God, I hope not. Now that I included this part.
Hi, Ellen's mum.
Hi.
And also Ellen's mum, just to let you know, I have been Sean.
I am your only daughter.
And thanks for the lift home tonight. I've been Phil. Bye.
And guys, see you next week.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
It has been my
Salut.
favorite. I'm going to finish my drink.
A bientôt.
A bientôt. I can't remember any French words.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
My housemates are going to hate me.
Salut.
Salut.
This is the beer podcast. Well, cider to be technical. I'm on my fourth.
That's technically correct.
The
best kind of
correct.
Would you fuck Ultron?
Yes.
This is a teaser for,
Maybe I'd know
for
him.
my
Maybe-
spin-off
maybe
podcast.
Vision.
Working.
What?
Maybe Vision.
I would love Jeff Goldblum to be my stepdad.
So
Well,
Chris.
you know what he says. Life.
Finds
Finds
a
a way.
way.
So Chris, we are
Chris.
somewhat tipsy. So it's now you must edit this just as drunk as we are
Yeah.
recording.
So you have
this.
to have at least what?
Four-
Two
I'm on four.
ciders and I've had
had
a
two rums.
a rum and a cider.
I've had 2 rums and 2
I have
ciders.
had 3 rums and Coke and 1 cider.
I'm
this-
well behind you guys.
Yes,
What?
you are.
Yes, you are. What's wrong with you?
Ketchup.
Glug glug.
What did? Oh, fuck. What's the joke?
Whilst editing this podcast, Sexy Chris drank. He drank 3 beers and a quarter bottle of whiskey. Please subscribe to save Sexy Chris from himself.